9:30. All right. Can you please take a roll, Leah?
Mark Dawson,
Here.
Cheryl Adams.
Here.
Kelly Canton.
Here.
And Alina Lane.
Here. All right, this portion of the meeting is for oral communications from the public. I see no one in the room, and no one online. We can move on. So first I'm gonna start with new business, and we have Q&A with the new general manager, Jason, over here. I think a lot of the admin wanted to get to know you a little bit more and kind of hear from you as someone kind of starting this off, or I didn't know if anyone else was like presenting or
coffee
just
for
gonna
this,
go.
okay?
You need coffee?
Yeah.
Where is the coffee machine?
Well, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. So what do you bring to your new role?
Well, I have a extensive background in water. I was with the last water district for 26 years. I served in multiple roles. I was in customer accounts for a while. I was on maintenance. I was the assistant operations manager and the operations manager. I brought online the GIS system. I was able to facilitate a lot of transitioning from paper records to digital records. And I have a good background in working with engineering and bringing forth capital projects. So
So yeah, I'm happy that we have you here. And I think you mainly had a lot of questions, Mark. You're the one who really wanted the Q&A, so yeah, you're in the hot seat with Mark.
Well, welcome.
thank you. I appreciate
It's true. I mean, I just thought, well, this is a great opportunity for us to get to understand a little more of where you're coming from and how you're viewing things. And that could inform our work as a committee. So somebody may want to just keep an eye on this so I don't go too long on this. But I have a lot of curiosity. Even just going back a little bit, because this has been such a difficult position for the district to fill. A lot of potential candidates looked at this and thought, well, it's not for me. You came to a different conclusion. I'm just interested in what led you there.
We were just talking about something to that effect in the where I was in the high desert, and the customers of the high desert are very similar to customers who live in a mountainous region. They are very reserved. They don't like to be messed with a lot. They like their privacy, and I understand that. So having that background and understanding, I thought maybe a good fit for the role.
That's an interesting point. And I know you've only been here a short while. Could you speak in sort of general terms about how you're sizing up the situation? What are you seeing as priorities for you? What are you seeing as opportunities for improvement, challenges? What are you seeing as opportunities to bring in things that you have been exposed to, in Indian Wells? Just general overview.
Yeah, you have only been here 2 weeks. It's a little early yet. I'm still learning the situations that the district is facing, the challenges. One of the biggest hurdles that we have is forming the nucleus of the district. Being the general manager, I need to have a good management team around me, and we're halfway there. We have an excellent engineering manager, but we need a finance manager. We need an operations manager, environmental manager, but we need to form the nucleus. That's number one. After that, Garrett has been trying to get me up to speed on the capital projects and where we are on that. Bringing those forth, prioritizing them, and trying to get them underway is step two. If I'm able to accomplish that in a relatively decent amount of time, I think that's a job well done. So
That's great. Are there, is it too soon to say, but I'm just curious because anytime someone's coming from a different background, is there anything that's jumped out at you as opportunities for change?
Not yet. I want to learn the landscape first before,
Sure.
before I start thinking about changes. I've been impressed with the staff. They know their job. They're very good at what they do. It made me more comfortable. I came from an organization where everyone was really good at their job. And being able to see that here, it kind of made me feel at home. That I don't have to come in and worry about that too much. It's just a matter of how do we organize and prioritize to move forward.
Great. I'll leave it there.
Thanks.
Oh, wow.
Hi.
I thought you were gonna have a lot more than that. Cheryl, do you have any questions or anything?
You know, maybe not questions, but seeds to plant with you, because I know it's so early. This committee's been meeting since January. Before that, it was not meeting at all for about a year. So we've been trying to do our best to help the district without a lot of direction. So it would be helpful if we could work together on when your priorities become clear, what administratively we could help you with. One of the things that I noticed, and it's a big project, but one of the things that I see that is missing is a strategic plan. So that may be down the road, but it's one of those things that is a great document that can steer everything we do. And was written, the last one was written in 2016. And I found it a couple of months ago to read it, and it was in the archive document. So it's not a living document. So I know you've got so many other priorities, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention that came to me as something that maybe should be a priority at some point.
No, I appreciate that. Yeah, my job will be to facilitate and be the conduit between staff and the board, right? So
Mhm.
whatever, in whatever way I can do that, I'll be happy to.
Right. Okay.
And who's taking over the admin committee now? Is it gonna be you or is it gonna continue to be Jen with this?
There'll probably be
Okay, I'm just kind of curious.
at least until such time I say, you know what, Jen, you can have it back.
Yeah, well, she did a great job.
Did a great job.
Doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah, it just kind of went seamlessly between
Mhm.
Uncle to you. So really, thank you so much, Jen, for stepping up and helping us with
I
this
have
committee.
leaned on Jen heavily these first 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Well, do you have anything else that you wanted to say? Anyone? No. Okay. Well, Mark really wanted to get to know you a little bit more, so I'm glad that we kind of had this opportunity. I know, like, I've gotten to talk to you quite a bit, so but it's good for our committee members to kind of see your face and hear a little bit more from you. And yeah, I won't ask you too many questions. I'll wait a month and then we'll really pick your brain on everything. So where are we with this? Oh, you got one more thought, Mark?
Yeah, but we'll just leave a minute. Do you feel like I'm interested in the similarities and differences in terms of the challenges facing that district that you came from and the challenges facing this district, or
I think the challenges that and the similarities between them are the challenges that are facing people in general right now, which is how do you get the most from the least is, how do you make the dollar go further? That's where the prioritization comes in. What's the most important? What's going to give us the biggest return on investment? I know that down there we were facing substantial increases in costs for chemical, for parts, and I'm sure the challenges up here are very similar.
thanks.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we have we can probably move to public comment. We have one person in the room. Do I have anything on this, Bruce?
Well, I was happy to meet Mr. Lillian at the committee meeting last week. And I am glad the district has a general manager, because I remember 2 years ago when Rick Rogers resigned, and that was very sudden, and it's handicapped the district.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. And we have no one online, so yeah, it's God. I'm glad to finally have a general manager after 2 years. Echo that. All right. So we can move on to the master plan, and is someone presenting that?
As I've only been here 2 weeks, I brought someone who's worked on it for 4 years with
Yeah.
me, so Garrett will probably be taking the lead on that.
Yeah, so in 2021, the district completed a master plan with the Cal Engineering Group. The analysis included a hydraulic model of our system, and it included recommendations for a capital improvement program. This included 158 projects. 124 of them are related to pipeline improvements. Of the pipeline improvements, 24 are related to fire flow improvements, 74 to fix existing deficiencies, and 26 are for increasing distribution capacity. There's 21 tank recommendations, 9 pump station recommendations, and 4 valve improvements. The total of all the improvements in 2021 was estimated at over $75 million. The district is working through some of these projects. We've completed 18 of the projects, and we're in design for 7 more. And with that, I'll take any questions that you have.
How many did you say were in design?
7.
Okay. You wanna start us off, Mark?
I'll try. I feel like I do need to begin with some general comments just about this item on the agenda, because it would be really helpful for the committee if, as a ironclad rule, if every agenda item was accompanied by a staff memo that really explains just what you want the committee to accomplish and that provides the background that would support that. This appeared, a huge document just got slapped into the agenda packet with no introduction. And so it's very difficult for the committee to prepare for any discussion. And just a minor question on that note. I know this came up in the engineering committee, which seems appropriate. And I know from reading the minutes of that meeting that you were planning to produce a summary table that tracks progress on the 158 projects. So that also would be helpful to have in hand as we undertake any discussion. Is that available?
Yeah, I can send that to you.
That's great.
No problem.
Yeah.
I think that we had requested that this come as a committee to start taking a look at it. That was at the last committee meeting.
Yeah. It's okay. We literally took a look at it because it was in the packet, but I'm just saying, I don't know if this was a constructive first step. And as long as I'm nitpicking, and I hate to do this, can I just understand why it is that the engineering committee minutes are useful and they actually told me something and none of the other committee minutes do that?
I wrote the minutes for the engineering committee.
Okay. That would be just something maybe to take a note of. From my perspective, the minutes are not very helpful in general. Okay. Well, just because we're processing this right now, I don't know if Garrett or Jason, if you have a sense of what the admin committee could add, what value we could contribute to this issue of the engineering master plan.
I find your request for a table that includes information about the district status on these projects is useful.
Okay.
And it'd be my pleasure to send that over to you. Any interest that I can get on our projects and the current status of the district is welcome. There's a lot of information available on our website. This is from 2021, so this is kind of an outdated document. There's also an urban water management plan that was made, I think, around 2018, when we were looking at possibly joining with Scott Valley Water District. There's all kinds of information about our system.
There is, it's an overwhelming amount of.
Yeah, there's a lot of information.
And especially if you're telling me that you think some of it's becoming outdated, that doesn't motivate me to read it closely.
Yeah, so the construction costs change every year.
Mhm.
So the cost of material and the cost of labor goes one way, goes up.
Yes.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I think I'll see what the other committee members feel, but for where I sit, it's not yet clear to me what the opportunity is for the admin committee to be helpful on this topic.
Oh, I can take a little bit of dive at this. I understood it is that we were trying to move towards updating at least this strategic plan, sorry. And so to do that, we kind of have to look at the master plan first to see what that was, because the other one's been even farther outdated by 2016. And technically a master plan, that can be a 10-20 year plan. So I don't think it's so out of date. As for the other one, we had agreed that we were going to be doing that yearly, and that hasn't happened, in like 9 years. So I thought that was the goal that we had discussed prior in this admin, is to start trying to look at these, documents and seeing how we can get them updated, specifically the strategic plan. So am I saying that from our last meeting, how the
Yes,
direction we're
I
headed?
agree, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
My understanding on this would probably be that you're looking some sort of high level.
Right.
General strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is going to be at the engineering level.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but
this-
that would be part of a bigger strategic plan, right?
You guys are looking for just the general down the road 10 years. What does this all look like? What are we focused on first? This is really nuts and bolts stuff here. This is getting down to the nitty gritty that Garrett understands.
Absolutely.
But I do have one question. When you say that, what are the minutes lacking that you would like to see so that we can address that?
I guess my short answer is if you look at the minutes from the engineering committee versus any other committee, you can learn something from the engineering committee minutes. And that's just not true for any other minutes, including for the board meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did find the engineering minutes to be very helpful. Like, I didn't even know you had created that other document for President Smalley without reading that. So, and to be able to request it. So thank you for being detailed in that.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
I have lots of questions, but I'm just gonna let everyone else go. I know, I don't even know how to ask all these. Cheryl?
Well, one of the things that is helpful for me as an outsider looking in, the water plan was amazing. My question was, is this a living document? Is this something that can be updated so that we can go back to this and say, oh, this is where we're at with this? And obviously you've got a separate document that tracks the progress on the projects, but it's helpful for me, and I don't know if it's even because of how unwieldy the darn thing is to begin with, if that's the document you would want to keep updated or not. But since things are changing on a year-to-year basis, and since costs are changing all the time, it's really hard to have a document that's going to work in the long term unless I think that you can adjust it and update it and refresh it and that sort of thing. So I don't know, other than your separate document, talking about the accomplishments, which is great. That's wonderful. That was one of my questions, is where are we with all these things? Because this document doesn't tell me that. So just again, a thought, from another committee that might want to work with you on certain high level things, from the perspective of somebody who's a rate payer, you know, and I would love to be able to look at a document and see where you're at with it, because I see what's happening on the ground here in Boulder Creek. I see the roads opened up and pipes happening. So it's happening. It's happening in my neighborhood. But that's my little microcosm. I don't see the big picture. So again, just some food for thought, I guess. How can we improve this so that it's more user friendly? I mean, it was really important that you have this, and from an engineering perspective, you guys understand what all this means. How do we communicate that to everybody else?
Yeah.
So I was floored at the amount of work you guys are doing and the amount of work that needs to be done. So kudos to you for tackling all of this and prioritizing and keeping up on it. I'm amazed.
Kudos.
Yeah.
I echo that. I was impressed by pages 35 to 38. I think for me that distilled within this document, and it's all about the capital equipment as I kind of read the highlight. So I think you have mentioned, that you accomplished X amount and you had 7 more to go. Is that in here? And if not, this to me is like the first line of every paragraph. I want to know what the thoughts are and where you're headed. So I love this document, but it is kind of hefty. But I love those 35 to 38 where it shows the spreadsheets with the breakdown. I think that's what, maybe you're talking about a living document. Maybe that's it that comes forward, because you do a lot of work.
Oh my God.
You're amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. But from my background as a nurse, having dealt with operating room budgets, and what I elevate to the top for patient care, which would be pipes are the arteries and veins of this living, breathing ecosystem. There's my analogy. I think that would be something I would like to see, is like, how and where are you hitting, and how can any entity here help so that you can achieve what you prioritize, right? You're going to work and prioritize. So what that ranks is, oh my gosh, this just went to the top. So I love your documentation. It's like a policy and a procedure. I hated working on those. But it's amazing that you've done this. But I love those pages. Did you find the ones that I'm referring to? 35.
Yeah.
I think that's the crux of what, for me, we could look at to say, are you stalled in the water? Do we know, how can we help? What can we do for this committee and help you through this, not be the stumbling block?
I come from a career in collaboration with other government entities, collaboration with private nonprofits, collaboration with other sections of the hierarchy. So I am always looking at this as, how can we work together? How can we help you? How can we be part of helping the water board to accomplish their goals?
I think one thing that would be very helpful is if we had a construction crew that was working for the district. This would save us on the cost of construction. And it appears we have enough work to stay busy for the foreseeable future.
Rather than contracting it out.
Yeah, I find that when we hire contractors, sometimes you pay as much as double what it should cost.
Yeah.
And so when we go look at our reserve policy and we try and value the system, we're typically looking at what would a contractor charge us to replace the entire system, which isn't a very large number, to the
Yes.
tune of almost, $500 million. And now if I had a crew of maybe a couple operators and maybe 3 to 4 laborers, we could probably cut that number in half.
To Garrett's point, the last thing I did before I left the Indian Wells Valley Water District was formation of a construction crew.
Great.
And in doing so, we took a project that was a 30-inch mainline replacement, which was the estimate from the engineers for contract repair was about $5 million. We did it in-house for 2.
Mhm.
So what would be the barrier? I mean, this saves money, just throwing it out.
It's a change to the org chart, it's a change, I mean, you're bringing on more staff. So there is a cost to it. You just have to, like Garrett said, you have to make sure that we have the work to do.
Right, but it sounds like it's there and it's
I
like
know.
for years.
I keep hearing that we don't have enough work to do those types of things, but then I take a look at the master plan and it was like 75 million or something in project, was that the total? It was like we have enough.
We have a long list of things to do, right? But we gotta
Right.
make sure that they're shovel ready, that they're ready to go. And I know that's what Garrett's working on right now.
Mhm. Yeah, it just seems like there isn't a lack of work that I keep hearing from,
Yeah,
other
over
people.
50% of our system is, less than 8-inch in diameter. So we have a lot of 2-inch pipe. We have a lot of, undersized mains that we could just start replacing.
If you had a crew.
We've just basically replacing kind, yeah, where we have a 2-inch pipe, we go in with an 8-inch. That's our district standard minimum size, 8-inch.
And I come from a career in government, nothing like this, but the organizational structure is always pretty similar. And we did direct services as well. We actually had people on the ground doing services. So we had a combination of direct service line staff, but we also did some contracting out, and we always tried to get the work done in-house if we could, and only went to contract when we had to. And I know that there was an upheaval between COVID and the fire that kind of threw everything off course, but I'm not sure where you stand on that. But it sounds, Garrett, like you would see, at least in that situation, it would make sense to hire in-house staff to do some of this work. So I just say that in concept, that's something that I agree with as well.
Yeah, I would agree. And I'm pleased to report that the engineering department, we have secured the hydraulic model from Excel, and we have the software to run the hydraulic model. So we can actually update the analysis whenever we want, and run different scenarios. If we wanted to see what would happen if we used a large diameter pipe on a certain area and see the effect of that. And as we build, as we complete projects that are on the list, maybe some projects that aren't on this list, we should be updating the hydraulic model with those projects as we go. And so that's another opportunity too, where we don't have to hire an outside engineering firm to make us plans. A good example is Brookside Drive in Felton. When I very first started out, some of the neighborhood community came to the board meeting and requested that we replace the pipeline in Brookside Drive in Felton. And so under direction from Rick Rogers, we made the engineering plans in-house. James Furtado and his crew secured the material and installed the main line. And I think we had budgeted around $800,000 for that project. And I think we completed it for under 400,000.
Wow.
I'll echo Garrett, that the idea of doing things in-house is always the better idea. And I have a little story. So we had a contractor that was putting in a pipeline, large pipeline, and ran into a snag. And then it became a 4-month battle of who's responsible for the snag.
Right.
Versus having in-house construction, you just get the job done. So there's cost savings, there's time savings. I think you end up with a better product in the long run.
And you know, you should also think about the cost of doing the contracting itself. That's an in-house cost that you have on top of the cost of the contract itself. Gotta negotiate the contract, and you've got to draw up the contract, and you've got to monitor the contract, and someone's got to, you know, do the bills. So those are all in-house costs that are part of contracting. And if the bottom line dollar amount is higher than doing it inside, then it's even higher because of the in-house costs that you have. Just, you know, throwing that out there.
Do you have something more?
Well, I appreciate this discussion. It leads me to a question. And I know it's early for you, but it sounds like you think there's a real opportunity here for improving the district's operation and the cost efficiency. So I'm interested in how you envision next steps in exploring that.
As it pertains.
When
to
in
the
other words, you brought up an intriguing idea. Well, now what?
But I think the next steps are for Gary and I to sit down and come up with a cost analysis of the benefit of the formation of the construction crew,
Mhm.
what that looks like. And so we can bring that to the board and say, this is what the org chart's gonna look like, and this is what the savings are gonna be.
Thanks.
All right, you ready for me, Garrett? So the one thing that I really noticed in the master plan and all of that is that I think the Felton Heights tank was on the maps, but we didn't discuss it anywhere in there. Then we like I looked at these documents when everyone had come in, unless they're calling it the Felton Soyo. Okay, it's just completely missing in there. So I think that's like a big oversight that, and I really want to make sure that those people are included in these documents if we update them. So just kind of pointing that one out. And did we end up constructing an additional PRV from the Lion portion of the North System to the Big Steel Zone yet?
Yes, so the Lion to Big Steel PRV is located behind Johnny's in the sidewalk.
Okay.
So I believe the master plan indicates that it should be built at the Lion Complex site,
Mm-hmm.
but instead we put it in town. This would give us an opportunity to provide increased flow to the Big Steel Zone.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And then my next one was about the hydraulic model, but you answered that. We have that updated and it's in-house. Have we performed any fire flow analysis?
So we were alerted by the Zionee Fire Chief, Jeff Maxwell, about a couple fire hydrants in the Quail Zone that were not included in our table. So we are updating the hydraulic model to provide the flow and pressure to the fire chief.
Okay, so all that's just like modeled in your software then, doing the fire flow analysis. You can do that from your GIS. So
Yeah, so the GIS, it gets imported into the hydraulic model software. And then you basically run a scenario. You have to assume there's a certain amount of water in the tank, and then the duration, and then it gives you an output based on your settings.
okay. Also says we're going to be performing a capacity allocation analysis for cost sharing purposes. Done that?
Do you have a reference for where that is?
No, I didn't. I'm sorry. I have lots of stuff I can probably
Does
control.
that have to do with like more tanks capacity?
You know what? We can skip that one. I was like highlighting lots of stuff and throwing it in there, and I read 700 pages yesterday for this board meeting. So I just like anywhere I see like we're gonna do cost sharing and like trying to figure that out. I'm all for that. So what was the other one? Seems like we have a lot of issues like in the Brookdale area. Like what have we done in that area to try to alleviate some of the concerns that were highlighted in the master plan?
So in the Brookdale area, we've completed the Altavia pipeline project. This is P8-8. Replace existing 1.5-inch pipelines with new 8-inch pipeline in Monin Way and Altavia Drive. This
Okay,
was designed in-house by Josh Wolf. And then we entered in a contract with Anderson Pacific. There was some problem with getting the ductile iron. I believe the contract was awarded in 2021. And we just finished the project in 2023.
well, during COVID, you guys had a lot of problems getting that pipe.
Yeah, I think, yeah, because of COVID, there was manufacturing issues with getting the ductile iron.
Yeah, I think we were struggling to get large quantities all at once, but like smaller quantities, I remember being in all those meetings. And it was a big issue. And you guys were like trying to stage and hold for a while to collect enough to finish projects. That was a mess. Hold on. So I guess a lot of this is like about fire, and it talks a lot about like multiple pressure zones and not have sufficient fire storage. Is a lot of that going to be alleviated when we get these new tank sizes that we're trying to push for?
So the tank sizes will allow the hydrants to operate in conformance with the code. There are some pipeline improvements. If you go to page 110, this is section 7.4, fire flow analysis and recommended improvements. This goes through the 24 recommendations for upgrades to the system for fire flow.
Okay. I can take a look at that again. Yeah. So, and have we checked a lot of this stuff off, or do we have a long way to go on these recommended improvements?
So we have completed P8-2. I think we still have a long way to go.
Okay. P8, I see. Complete. I know, I'm sorry, all my questions are very tedious, but
And some of the projects identified in the master plan, they get very specific, and maybe we've done a portion of the pipeline in one of our projects, but we haven't done the whole improvement as specified by ACL. So I've noticed a couple instances of that with our Lion and Big Steel project. Another way you can look at the same information is if you go to page 24, they have a graphic display of the improvements. And so 24 is kind of an overview of our entire system. And then there's detail sheets. So for instance, if you go to page 25, you'll notice that there's a recommended improvement shown in red. And these, for instance, T24-1 is a new echo tank. And then P4-1 is a pipeline improvement in Highway 9 up to the echo pump station. And so if you scroll to 27, in the middle of the sheet, you're looking at Juanita Woods and Brookside Drive in Boulder Creek. You'll notice that there's 2-inch pipe in that neighborhood and 1.25-inch pipe. And the recommendation is to install 8-inch pipe, but they only show discrete locations where they want the 8-inch pipe. And what we ended up doing with our 2021 CIP was we started at Highway 9 and we went up Juanita Woods to Juanita Avenue, then all the way over to Brookside and replaced that whole loop. So the 2-inch lines, were replaced with an 8-inch line, even though it's not identified in the master plan. So sometimes when you're looking at a project, rather than just doing a small portion of pipe as shown in red, you might want to do the whole loop. To just
Yeah.
upgrade that area, so you're not going back out with machines and tearing up the road again. You know, once you're in there and you're doing the work, you want to get as much done as you can for the amount of money you have. So,
Yeah, that makes sense. Um, just another technical question. It says, there was something about, it says there's a potential to eliminate the Bear Creek and Blackstone booster station and add a PRV and check valve to supply these zones and further reduce pumping costs. Have we done anything on that one?
yeah, so as part of the Lion and Big Steel project, we installed 2 PRVs. There's a PRV at Lorenzo Street and Highway 9. This is the Johnny's parking lot. This is a zone break between Lion Zone and Reader Zone. So we're able to eliminate the firehouse pump station and gravity feed from Lion to Reader. So that's great. And then the other PRV we installed behind Johnny's in the parking lot at Pine and Highway 236. This is between Lion and Big Steel Zone. And this allows us to essentially keep the pressure from Lion. So Lion's actually at a higher elevation than Big Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And so the whole point of, we ran 2 pipes down Highway 236. That way we could keep the higher pressure Lion zone and use that pressure instead of using the pump.
Oh, okay.
Now, as far as Blackstone, our records indicated that we had a 1.5-inch pipe crossing Boulder Creek,
Mm,
but from Highway 236 to West Park.
mm-hmm.
That pipeline does not exist.
Mhm.
It was abandoned sometime in the past. So we have the PRV to eliminate the Blackstone pump station, but we don't have a distribution line from the high pressure Lion zone to the Blackstone zone.
Okay.
So we have the PRV to install. If we could either one, reestablish the creek crossing, or we could run a pipe from the Lion zone either down West Park, like from the golf course side,
Mm-hmm.
or we could go from Johnny's parking lot before the PRV, where there's still high pressure,
Mm-hmm.
and we could route that down Highway 9, over the bridge, turn down West Park, go past the library,
Mm-hmm.
and then install the PRV at Blackstone.
Mm-hmm.
Because right now Blackstone's tied into Reader.
Okay.
We could look it on the map.
Yeah, no, I live right there.
Okay.
I was following you, maybe no one else
Okay.
was, but I live right off of West
Yeah.
Park, so I know where Blackstone and all that.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
I was visually following in my head. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I'm like, well, you're on West Park right now. Okay. So I like, and so kind of switching gears a little bit, there's like, they talked a lot about like potential energy efficiency improvements, just overall. I know we've done some things as far as solar panels and stuff that we've installed. But is there anything else that we really looked at that trying to reduce our our pumping costs or anything like that?
So I'm very interested in combining zones and eliminating zones, eliminating tanks, eliminating pumps. So any opportunity we have to, there's a possibility we could eliminate the Eckley zone if the Big Basin zone comes to fruition for Forest Springs and Brackenbury.
That services me as the Eckley zone. Okay, this is my last one. Yeah, I outdid you today, Mark. Aren't you proud of me? Usually it's this, you've got all of them. So this is kind of something we've been touching on in other areas, and it's talked about in here, and it's about the disadvantaged communities that is outlined in here. And it was kind of interesting because it was like saying that only like the stuff that's touching those can be considered. I don't know, have you dug any more into this? This is like my little baby that I've been picking at, because we have Title I schools and they're saying we're not in a disadvantaged community. But then we have this document to saying part of us is, and then back in 2018, even the whole Forest Spring Bracken Bay is outlined. So have you done any work on as far as trying to establish funding for any of that?
I haven't. It's possible that Chris is looking into opportunities for our disadvantaged communities in our system.
Mm-hmm.
My understanding is it's off of Bear Creek Road. And so maybe there's an opportunity for funding
Yeah,
based on that.
yeah, I know, it just seems interesting.
I just received a contact for the Northern California Safer representative for the
Mhm.
Department of Water Resources, so I'll be reaching out to them
Okay,
and seeing what they have available.
yeah. I mean, it looks like another census is going on too, so it might all change again. They gave me $5 to answer them. So, maybe it'll be completely different coming here in the next few years. Okay. Well, do we have anything else? Oh, Scott.
Online.
Oh, online. Okay. Do we have anything else from the committee here? Okay. Oh, I heard a thing. Okay, so we're gonna move to some public comments. I see that we have one. I'm raising and lowering my hand instead.
Mark Lee.
Oh yeah. All right, Mark. Lee.
He might be muted.
He's not muted. I can allow him
Might have
on.
muted himself.
Oh, now he just muted himself.
Okay,
wasn't-
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm from the Quail District. I'd like to talk a little bit more about that area if possible. I appreciate all the work that's going on with this master plan. I also read the full 300 something page document. A lot of work there to be done. Looks like. My hat's off to the engineering team. My question is, in terms of setting the priorities for these capital CIP projects over the next, 25, 30 years, how are the priorities being set? Is it by engineering or the community? Because we had back in 2016, we had several public hearings on priority settings, and I don't see those being incorporated. Okay, that's a question. One, also is in terms of doing capital facilities improvements, is the tendency and the preference by engineering to start at the central part of the water distribution system, or start out at the capillary peripheral part of the network? That's one question. And I want to talk about the fire issue if possible. Fire service capability.
Yeah, so the engineering committee right now is developing a proposed capital improvement policy and procedures. And this would rank each project with a score, and then we would proceed on the highest score first. So that's going to be a topic on Wednesday, so tomorrow. As far as what we've done to date, as far as prioritizing, we have basically been prioritizing the backbone of our system, which is large diameter pipe running from north to south or south to north, depending on how you look at it, which will allow us to push water from Boulder Creek to Scotts Valley. So part of that was the Quail Hollow Road pipeline we put in. It's a 12-inch diameter ductile iron main from West Cyane to Mora Lane. And then we just recently did our line in Big Steel project, which was two 12-inch diameter ductile iron pipes from our line treatment complex down to Highway 236. The Big Steel line only made it partially towards town and then tied into the existing 8-inch line. The Lion pipeline was run all the way into town so that we could install the PRVs and eliminate the firehouse booster station. We have a large list of projects and our capital improvement plan that's part of our budget. Ultimately, the board of directors adopts the budget, which includes the projects that we're going to we have money to spend for the next 2 years. We also include a total of a 5-year lookout on projects. And so that was our priority because we had, I believe it was around 54 projects on our list. And we only completed a portion of those. And then we ended up adding additional projects after meeting with operations and environmental to see what projects they had on their radar. And so I believe we added about 9 more projects. So I would refer you to the budget for the board of directors meeting on June 5th. Page 95 has a list of all the projects, 95 and 96.
Okay, that's fine. I'll do that. I was looking, also, kind of concerned about the large project that is being proposed in the county off Graham Hill Road. I think we're all aware of it. And how how that might be served. And it's gonna be a topic, I believe, on Thursday, before the board. And
Yeah, you're referencing the Haven development?
yes,
Yeah, we're gonna have to hold for the board meeting on Thursday.
It's not on the agenda anyway.
Yeah.
that's gonna be quite controversial, I understand. But getting back to the Quail District, you have it looks like a proposed tank up in the upper reaches of the Heen Road. Is that far off in the distance, or is that gonna be a closer proximity for fire suppression?
Are you referencing university tank?
Yes, I am.
Yes, so we're not in design at this time. So if we're serious about building a new tank, we would have to first make engineering plans. Once we have engineering plans, we can get a more accurate estimate of the construction costs and we can put it out to bid and then it'll get built.
Okay, great. So, I appreciate all the work. I like the idea of the living document and updating status with simple, matrices that we can all read and maybe highlight with different colors those projects that are hot, those that are, yellow that are in process, and those that are green or, that are in process, or red or being postponed, some kind of color coding. And I like the idea, that not the master plan, the CIP plan is upgraded on a regular basis, maybe quarterly, if at a minimum, and it reports to the living document of the master plan for the water district. I think that'd be very valuable to have maybe like a status report at every meeting, so we know exactly where we are. And if we can couple that with the engineering cost and against budget variance, that would be very helpful. It's not too complicated because you have already the information in-house, right? It's a matter of just kind of taking the reports and having them report to each other in a kind of a summarized report. Finally, my last comment is, I agree that, it's important that, we keep having public input. So the public is made aware of what's going on, incrementally, as well as maybe a yearly and 5-year plan. I think that's important. But I'm really impressed, the work that you've done since we started this project, this whole process in 2015, 16, 17, 18, from a public standpoint and review process. My hat's off to you guys.
All right, thank you, Mark, for your
Oh,
comments. Oh,
One
go
final
ahead.
comment. I like the idea of hiring local labor to take people out of poverty or on fixed incomes and have them employed, even doing the minor work of carrying and installing 2-inch pipelines.
Mhm.
It's a very
Yeah.
good idea.
Yeah, I think you can kind of get some of that local labor if we decide to do some in-house and try to hire some of these guys that are and ladies that are local. Well,
Thank you very much.
thank you, Mark. Yeah, and as far as the living document, I think like I just got basically that table that you guys saw in the document, and Garrett has been updating that. And maybe that's something that we can bring to the board. I don't think every meeting, because then when you start commenting, like, then you can comment on anything that's on that. But maybe like quarterly or something, just kind of doing like a status report of, this is where we are on these projects. Um,
I think it's a good idea to see how much work is involved for Garrett. And that way, that kind of dictates how often we want to do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want it to be a huge burden on you to tell us how things are going every single meeting instead of just, doing the work. But like I wouldn't even known that you had created that, like I said, unless I'd read the minutes for the engineering. But do we have any more comments here on the master plan? Did any of that dig up anything for anyone? Okay. Oh, we got one more public comment in the room.
I'm Bruce Holloway from Boulder Creek. This discussion kind of brings back memories because, as I recall, in 2015, the district had hired a new general manager named Brian Lee, and Mark Lee, that just spoke, described meetings that took place in 2016, but I kind of remember it was 2015. And there were two topics. The first topic was a rubric for how do you prioritize projects. So there was some just discussion about that. And then after that has kind of gotten talked through, then the next step was actually prioritizing projects. So that district manager, Brian Lee, had this idea of having a crew that would go out and replace pipelines. This was his idea in 2015, exactly the way you described it. I wanted to point out that, you mentioned a neighborhood coming to you, the Brookside neighborhood, and saying, we want something. And this happens a lot, like Sunnyscroft had a house fire maybe around 10 years ago, and then they felt that their neighborhood was underserved. And the district wound up putting a spur into that neighborhood with a hydrant that was right in the middle. So they didn't redo the whole neighborhood, but they did address the concern. But what I wanted to say is that there's another pressure from, not from neighborhoods, but from staff. Staff would find that we're going out again and again to replace a certain pipeline because there's a leak. And it happens over and over again. After a while, staff would say, why don't we just replace the pipeline so we don't have to keep doing it? So this idea of a crew is not new. I can remember James telling me one time, oh, we're actually getting to work on some of those leaks and replacing pipelines. And I think he referred to Kings Creek. Kings Creek Road pipeline up there had a lot of leaks, and I guess eventually that got replaced. So this idea is not new. James told me they were working on it. The way you described the Brookside situation, James had a crew and did the work, so there was a crew. So I guess I'm confused. There was a crew, but now we're saying we need a crew. So I guess I'm a little bit not understanding what happened, where did it go? Let's see. So when you first started talking, when the district engineering manager started talking, I think my mind was wandering. I didn't hear what he said exactly. I think maybe what it was that when he started talking about I know it as the ACO report. I've always called it the ACO report, and other people I've had discussions. And so when you call it the Cal report, I think somehow it just didn't go into I didn't hear it right, and I didn't know what he said. So this is I'm bringing up a broader issue here. I can see that there's a red light blinking here that says recording. So sometimes, even when I attend a meeting, I find out that I'm thinking of something else and I'm not hearing the discussion. Sometimes I might be thinking about the next item. And when I listen to a recording of a meeting, often hear things that I didn't hear the first time, or I can hear the words clearly, like whatever you said at the beginning. Oh, it's just the appeal report. That's all that I didn't understand. So I guess I'm asking, this meeting is being recorded. What's going to happen to the recording? I know some committee meetings have been put on the website. Sometimes they're on the website. You can go click on it and listen to the meeting. Other times they're not. The recordings happen and they never show up on the website. So for example, right now, the meeting from last week is not on the website. If I want to go hear that meeting again, do I have to do a public records request, or will there be
No,
is
Jen,
there a policy that committee meeting recordings, since they're being made, will they be on the website? Thank you.
Jen can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe all the meetings are being uploaded to our YouTube page, the committee meeting,
So they're being posted.
on the YouTube page.
On YouTube.
So last week's,
Last week's meeting is not up there yet, no.
So the Brookside Drive main replacement was constructed by operations staff. So they also have duties as far as leak repairs and making sure the system's in operation. So we basically were taking some of those guys that would normally be doing that work, and we put them on the pipeline construction.
Okay. Okay. Well, the biggest thing with the master plan for me is that I just want to make sure we're always circling back to this. You know, we spend a lot of time putting these reports together instead of like, here's our priorities in this report, and then we're just gonna go off and go do what we want. And just, you know, connecting these two. I know that Director Largay has brought this up a lot where he feels disconnected because what's going on isn't connecting back to the master plan, and just making sure that we're circling back. Do you think that this is something that needs, you know, updated quite yet? Like, I feel like, you know, you said it's out of date 2021, but for me, that's not super long.
Yeah, I think it should be a living document. I agree with that. And we should be updating it as we do projects and as different circumstances arise. So I agree with that.
Okay. Oh, one more comment before we move on.
Hopefully minor. One thing that I've taken away from this is that, and I haven't checked on the website recently to see exactly what's there, but in general, I mean, everyone seems to like the idea of, you know, something that's more like a living document, or at least some form of tracking. And so where I'm going with this is that I do think from an admin committee perspective, you know, one of the things we're concerned with is how the district communicates with the public. And it's generally difficult for the public to get the kind of information we've just managed to unearth here about, okay, in a concise way, what's the big picture? How's the district approaching prioritization? It's stuff that you've all sorted through, but it would be nice for the public to have an easy way to click on this to go, oh, here's how they figured out what to prioritize. Here's what their general thinking is. Here's the current status. It's just something that would be a lot more concise than referring people to the master plan.
Yeah. That's a lot of work.
Well, I understand
Yeah.
that's the problem with a lot of these things, but and I understand you have to weigh that. But I just want to at least call attention to the fact that it's an open issue right now.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the water plan, it's everything. The communication was one of the things that I brought up when I first came to this committee. Is I think communication is important, and clear, concise communication that's understandable to the layperson out there in the real world helps people understand what's going on and how things are being decided upon as far as projects and that sort of thing. but also helps with PR and just in general, people understanding how the water district is working for them. So again, that can be I have come from places that had strategic plans, that had communication plans, that had all these things. Because that was important that we had some decisions at a high level of how we were going to do these things. So that would be another thing, you know, that we could include in a higher level document as to what the water district wants to do going forward and what are the priorities, but not just, I mean, the engineering stuff is critical, hypercritical, but the infrastructure to support that, the admin infrastructure, the fiscal, the, you know, the hiring and firing, the, you know, the personnel, all of that kind of needs to coordinate, and we need to have a plan to coordinate all of this. This is one system, and all those pieces need to work together. So that's my soapbox.
I hear that. We have a lot of stuff for engineering, not a whole lot for anything else. As
Yeah,
far as
yeah.
admin.
Yeah.
I hear that.
Yeah.
Oh. Oh, we got one more, so we haven't moved on. Did you have anything else to add? Is there? I don't know, another comment online.
I was percolating.
Oh, you can still percolate if you want.
No, I think it's important that we do communicate. And you came from the high desert to the mountains. I came from SoCal. And I think probably some of those concerns, especially in light of the recent LA fires, which were very close to, and then you had the CZU one here too, is climate change is real. That's my stance. And I think it's important that education is really important about what are you doing for our communities, and it's ongoing. It's not like we need to know, how are we going to, where's my egress, where's my evacuation, and is it a collaboration with CAL FIRE and water, because some of the mains that are going in are being rebuilt, or the tanks, how is that addressing our survival? And it's about survival, and how do I adapt to this environment, because I've only been here a year. And it's a much different in suburbs.
Sure.
Yeah, than it is desert, mountains, it.
Well, I'll say that climate's change. That's what they do. And I'll let the scientists argue over why and how and what causes. Our job at the district is to make sure that we're best prepared for reacting to it and responding to it.
Mark, did you have another comment online?
Yeah, just coming back to the issue regarding the report that could be summarized. Maybe you put it on the website showing just the accomplishments page from the various engineering projects in a matrix. You could splash on, clone for the master report and put it on as a status report on the SLVWD website that someone could easily access and go, oh, we've got that report done. This P21.6, P25, identify it as a matrix. This has been accomplished, due date, and also if you could tie it to the total cost in a simple matrix that we could watch, like a report card. That's all. Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, well, let's see, any more comments on this? Oh, you're moving out, like we're going back, we're going back.
Well, hold on.
All right, as long as you don't want a second go at this too, Bruce. No, you good,
I think
you good.
we're gonna talk about strategic.
We're moving on. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the strategic plan. And I guess who's starting us off with that? Garrett as well?
No,
Oh.
well, Garrett started, but he's got to get going here. So,
Okay,
yeah, I'm gonna let him go because he has to meet somebody at 11.
okay,
But as far as the strategic plan goes, I mean, I'm open to hearing what the committee has, you know, what are we looking for? I'm assuming that you want to take the master plan and come up with a general
Mm-hmm.
overview of where are we going as a district? What are the highest priorities?
Okay. All right, no, if you go ahead.
Maybe for me, a starting question for Jason would be, what's been your prior experience with strategic plans, and so how do you view that as a important or unimportant next step?
Strategic plans, as long as they're coupled with the master plan or what your capital improvement structure looks like. It's just like I said, for my experience, it's always been this general high level view of where do we want to go as a district? What are the most important challenges facing the district right now?
I ask partly because my understanding of a strategic plan is that it is a significant undertaking. And it can have real value, but it also can be ignored or, you know, or over time and just grow really,
Yeah, what I don't want it to be is just a reiteration of the master plan. You know,
No.
that's just, you know, redundancy is great in the water system, not great in paperwork, so.
okay. And I guess associated with this for me is one of the reasons that it's been on the back burner for a number of years, just because everybody's got so much to do, and it hasn't felt like a top priority to people. And so I have, you know, two unknowns for me are, when will the district feel like it has adequate bandwidth to tackle the issue of a strategic plan? And what's the most appropriate way to do that? Because this came up a few years ago when a board member took the initiative to just rewrite the strategic plan on its own. And a lot of people had concerns about that as an inappropriate way to develop a strategic plan. And it can be something that you end up spending significant time and money on, trying to involve the community, maybe getting outside assistance. So I guess I'm looking for a sense of both your view of the scope of this project and an appropriate time to tackle it.
So number one priority is to get the capital improvement projects prioritized. Once we have those prioritized, it's going to give us a better understanding of where we need to go in the direction as a district. And then we can start to formulate the strategic plan around that. You know, because the strategic plan is going to involve, you know, how do we get there? You know, we know what the projects are. How do we get there? You know, what's our funding sources? What are the operational challenges? How do we get there?
Okay. It's possible that the process of developing a strategic plan could identify or reprioritize, you know, projects, could identify different new projects or reprioritize existing ones.
We have a good map right now. We have the roadmap right here with the master plan. It's just a matter of getting everything lined up. What's the most important thing right now? I mean, there's fire flow, there's critical infrastructure, there's things that need to be replaced or.
I hear that. I mean, I also thinking that a strategic plan is broader than an engineering master plan.
It is, that's why, but I think the scope of what are the most important critical projects will give you a direction of what your strategic plan is going to look like.
Because the strategic plan could also include initiatives in the front office or things like that.
Yeah, but that all comes down to when we do all these priorities, what's the funding look like, and where that red line gets drawn about. We have, you know, this is all we can spend. You know, so yeah, there's things to do in the office, but if it falls below the red line, they're gonna get pushed. So it can be part of the strategic plan, but maybe down the road.
I mean, there could be, hypothetically, you could identify cost saving opportunities in the office that would require investment initially.
No, that's so Tony brought up the rubrics. That's one of the things I introduced to Garrett is scoring rubric, and that's part of the thing is what's the return on investment? Spend the money to do these projects, whatever they are. What do we see? Do we see pumps being replaced that we're no longer using? We're using PRVs now. We're combining zones. Whatever those are, those helps move it up the chart.
Am I correct to be hearing you say that for now, you're not viewing the strategic plan as something to immediately begin looking at?
Not right away. We have what we need right here in front of us.
Mhm.
You know, we have plenty of challenges right in front of us that we need to tackle with staff replacement and capital infrastructure that needs to get started. Those are my one and number two priorities.
Great, that's clear.
I'll go if no one else. Okay, you kind of answered one of mine because it says that we're supposed to be doing this strategic plan every year.
Mm.
Is that something that you feel
Yeah, we
still
you know, we talked about the living document, right?
Mhm.
And as that becomes a thing and it starts to grow and, you know, evolve and become its own entity, it'll help form the strategic plan because that's going to change. You know, the goals,
Mhm.
priorities of the district are going to change as we see the system change. As we continue to improve the infrastructure, something else might pop up as a priority, and that's going to be the change in the strategy of the district. So
Mhm.
it has to be looked at, you know, periodically, annually, whatever that may be, but it's going to change over time.
Okay. I also really liked this line in here. This is every December 31st, we will have completed a review of our 5-year capital improvement program, successfully connected with our communities, cooperated with other agencies, and remained successful in watershed stewardship. I don't know if that's really happened every December. Like it's really nice on paper. But maybe trying, you know, when we tried, I know things have been chaotic, but trying to get back to that
No,
point would be nice.
I come from a background of where we had water board, what we called workshops.
Mhm.
And we would meet and go over the capital improvement plan, where we were at and where we're going forward. That was done biannually. So
Mhm. That'd be good. I also they saw it talked about adequate staffing levels as defined by the 2016 staffing plan. I didn't look too hard, but I couldn't find that online. Is that available online?
I haven't seen it. I could ask Lisa.
Yeah, I'm just curious to look at it. I was trying to read that as well as if I didn't have enough, but yeah, I'd be curious to see what they had thought, especially as we were like, you know, we had all the others moving pieces of org charts and stuff we've been doing. So if someone had written that up,
Okay, I'll ask Lisa.
but you can come back to me. I got like the paragraphs. You got something else? Anything down here about the strategic?
I think it's something that we need to keep on the radar. I understand it's a load to dump on your lap 2 weeks in.
Yeah.
So I didn't expect that we would start right off with that. But if that's a seed in the back of your mind as something that we need to be working towards, then I'll be happy. But I'm just looking at the old one. It wasn't that bad. There was a lot of good stuff, and we're talking about strategic elements. I'm looking at let's play page 321 on the
Board packet?
yeah. Water management, watershed stewardship, capital facilities, wastewater management, fiscal planning, public affairs, strategic partners, organizational health and personnel, and administrative management. Those were all, at that point, strategic elements that they wanted to track. And I'm thinking communication might be part of, one of those, public affairs or something. So that's not just replacing pipes. That's the big picture.
it is. Like
Yeah.
I said, it's the high level overview,
Right.
and that's definitely something. But 2 weeks in.
Oh, yeah, right, exactly. Didn't expect,
I've done Friday
yeah,
night.
let's jump into a strategic plan, but if that can be like in the back of your head as far as, well, we need something to steer this ship into the future. And it would be nice to be able to have that at some point in the future, hopefully not too distant.
I look at it like this, so you have this list, right?
Mhm.
Every water district, almost every public agency out there has some sort of
Absolutely.
mission statement, to
Uh-huh.
provide water at the,
Mhm.
most affordable rate, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And that's the mission statement. These are the things that tell you how to do it.
Right. And the mission statement is in that strategic plan as well.
But even like number 4, wastewater management, like that's severely lacking in
Yeah.
both plans.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing. We're out of compliance.
Yeah.
So it's not covered at all.
Yeah. I don't expect that this is a an immediate priority, but I'm going to ask that it be a future priority and kept on your mind.
It can be, well, we can keep it on the agenda and you can keep asking about it.
I will.
Standing
I
agenda.
will. I will. It's been my little, why don't we do where's the strategic plan? And then I finally found it and it was like, okay, I can understand how things might have fallen by the wayside, just given what the water district has been going through over the last few years. But at some point we need to get back to a point where we have that in place and we're looking at it and we're looking at outcomes and we're talking to the public about it. And so thanks for listening. I appreciate it.
No, of course.
I think that ties into one, there was a lapse. But how can you prevent a lapse? Because a strategic plan to any corporation as well as the master is an ongoing document, and as we like to say, living. So it's a living, breathing, adjustable document. So what can you build in now as you're getting to know what you're going to be experiencing? How can you build in where those fail-safe, don't lapse, so that it stays as a priority within this? And I think the legend, and I think Garrett spoke to it, that they're going to develop, like, here's how we're prioritizing, so that it's very clear, oh, this is launched up. Now we're dealing with fire hydrants, and this is the other category, this is the so that you can go, oh, what are we doing as far as the pipes that we need to move to, whatever those topics are within the strategic plan. And if you say wastewater, probably true. I don't know if you got the letter that said, oh, our testing, we're behind in the testing. You got it. I'm like, oh, what do I do? Oh, so what are these things from a strategic initiative that fall under these categories that can be on an ongoing basis in perpetuity,
Right.
That it stays this breathing document and it goes forward, because things are going to change and reprioritize.
Well, hopefully as staffing becomes not an issue,
Yeah,
Right.
we'll have a good succession plan and things of that nature, that as people retire and then move on to greener pastures, that the next person will be able to step up and continue the process.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna use the word dynamic because I come from more of a background like Scott, an IT background, so I'm dynamic and static, so I'm gonna substitute that for living.
Okay.
however you want to work, dynamic.
Whatever works for
Whatever word
everybody.
that
That is
people-
my, coming from a, human services background, living document is how we talked about it.
Dynamic.
Yeah, but it all works.
I have a question. Scott's probably gonna have to answer it. It says, when the next 5 years, the district would like to develop an infrastructure master plan for the Felton service area that addresses replacement of infrastructure that has reached the end of its useful life. For the next 5 years, the district would like to develop a source water master plan that provides clear goals and objectives to ensure safe and reliable sources of water in the Felton service area. Did they ever do anything like that?
Nothing where, I mean, our source of water is the Bennett Springs and Fall Creek, so I don't know where they would get another source of water from. There used to be a well in and the Felton Acres location on Bigfoot Hill, if you wanna call it that, San
Mhm.
Lorenzo Avenue. But that's no longer available.
Okay, I was just reading and I was curious. And I just would like, I know that this is gonna be our next topic, but it is also included in the strategic plan. And just point out, there's like, what was it, 2.4, the education program to protect the water
Mhm.
district's water resources over long term.
Mhm.
And so it did talk about that our sewer, a water sewer program in there. I think people kind of, that is part of our strategic plan,
Mhm.
so. Yeah, do you have any more comments from the committee here?
That seemed like a good segue.
Yeah, well, I gotta go to public comment first,
Mhm.
but. Public comments, you got one in the room, Bruce?
Thanks. I've got 3 issues. I hope I can keep them all in my mind. I went on the, I went on the tour on Saturday, and the environmental programs manager talked about the water rights. He talked about the conjunctive use program. Well, okay. The district has always practiced conjunctive use. I gotta back up again. I've been an SLBWD customer since 1982. And I'm looking at the 1941 there, and I'm realizing, oh, I've been a customer here for more than half of the lifetime of this district. So the district, in my memory, since 1982, the district has always practiced conjunctive use within the district. In the summer, we use wells. In the winter, stream water. But the environmental programs manager was talking about it, and I guess I know that some water rights are in flux right now in Felton. The city of Santa Cruz filed a couple of years ago, I guess, to different plan to change the water right that they already had. The 2 Felton water rights, as I recall, date from about 1974. So the city applied a few months before Cal-Am in 1974, and those water rights were both granted around the same time. But ours is subordinate to, or at least this is the way I remember it, ours is subordinate to the city of Santa Cruz in Felton. And we were actually in violation. We have been in violation of our Felton water right pretty much ever since we took over the Felton system. Not all the time, but typically in October and November, and not every year, but it's been a chronic situation that we've been in violation of the some of the terms of the Felton water right. So I guess these applications have been made to update these 2 water rights, both by the city and by the district. But this seems to me, I guess I don't know any of the details. I think this maybe it's been talked about in closed session or something. But I, as a member of the public, I don't know the status of those applications, the cities and ours. Are they, is this something that's going to get decided in the next year or 2? Is it something that already got decided and I'm not even aware of it? But I'd like to know the status of the revision of the 2 Felton water rights for the city and for us. The next issue is about the price that we charge for water outside the district to people who are not customers. The rate plan that we have right now is roughly 50-50 between fixed charges and the price of water. So that means if we're selling water, like if on our bills, I don't know what the exact price, the average price is something like 10 or 12 bucks a unit. That is essentially, that's half price. Essentially, that means that the real cost of a unit of water is more like 24 bucks. But because we're getting so much in the way of fixed charges, we can afford to sell all that water for 12 bucks, which is only half of the cost of running the district. So I guess what I'm leading at is that if we're selling water to ourselves at 12 bucks a unit, and that's only half the cost, then when we sell water outside the district, we should be selling water for double. We should sell water to Scotts Valley Water District for double what we charge ourselves. We should sell water to Forest Springs for double what we charge ourselves, as long as they're not paying a fixed charge. Now, I'm not sure, Forest Springs has been a customer. And maybe they are paying a fixed charge. So I feel differently about anybody that's paying a fixed charge. If Bracken Gray is paying the fixed charge, then I feel like they deserve to get the $12 rate. But if Bracken Gray is not paying the fixed charge, then I think they should pay a much higher price. And the same thing for Big Basin Water. I think that we're here to serve our residents and not the communities outside SOP Water District. Once they join, once they come into our district, then I think everybody should be treated equally. But I don't think that we should be selling water outside the district for less. And I think that's, if we sell water to Scotts Valley Water District at $12 a unit, I think we're basically giving them a better deal than our own school district. And I don't agree with that. I don't see why Scotts Valley Water District should get a better price on our water than SLD Unified School District. So the price of water outside the district, I think, is an important strategic issue. And it came up last year, but it came up in committee and then just got discarded. So as far as I know, we're still selling water outside the district for $12 a unit. The third issue is about the Loch Lomond water. This district participated with the city of Santa Cruz in building the Loch Lomond Dam. Most people don't know that because that's a city of Santa Cruz project. But this district put up 1/8 of the land that is that watershed for that for that reservoir. So we haven't used the Loch Lomond water since 1978. To me, now I think from Rick Rogers' point of view, the Loch Lomond water was like the ace in the hole. When you really run out of water and you really need another source, then we still have that water right. One of the issues that's never been resolved, I've asked this question many times, what would it cost us to exercise that water right? Because we would have to pay Santa Cruz's cost. I mean, I assume that they would charge us 1/8 of the entire cost of the reservoir and the pipeline, probably, at least, I don't know what the terms would be if we were ever even able to utilize that water right. So Rick thought it was our ace in the hole for the future, but I'm kind of thinking, I mean, I'm not really sure. I haven't made up my mind, but to me, it seems a little bit like the Sky Park Airport. When I moved here, there was an airport in Scotts Valley called Sky Park, and it was owned by the city of Santa Cruz. So over the years, the airport closed. Scotts Valley began making plans for a town center. They wanted to use the property as their town center, except they didn't own it. So they couldn't offer it to a developer. Decades have taken place here. And I guess recently they struck a deal. So now Scotts Valley found the money and they agreed on a price. And I guess that property has been transferred from the city of Santa Cruz to the city of Scotts Valley. So the Loch Lomond water right seems very similar to me. It hasn't been used for 40 years. It's owned, we own something that's in the center of a city of Santa Cruz project. And we're not getting anything out of it. We haven't gotten anything out of it. As far as I know, the city of Santa Cruz uses Loch Lomond as if they owned 100% of it. They just use it as their own, and we're getting nothing out of it. So that's why I'm bringing this up as a strategic planning idea. There might be another solution other than developing that water source. It might be that we could just sell it for cold cash to the city of Santa Cruz. Just say, we're willing to sell our right forever in exchange for money. Or it could be that there's some kind of a three-way deal that gets worked out where we essentially let Scotts Valley Water District use our Loch Lomond water right in exchange for money, and then they get their water from the city of Santa Cruz. So that would be a three-way deal where we get a little bit of money on an annual basis. And Scotts Valley gets some surface water, which they desperately need. Anyway, so those are my three issues, I guess. Status of the water rights in Felton. What's the price of water that we're gonna charge outside the district? Because I think we should be working for ourselves and not working. You know, the way it is now, I feel like we're being held hostage and we have to pay these high fixed charges. But the district was happy to sell water to Scotts Valley Water District a couple of years ago. They had a well fitted. And we were happy to sell water at the same price that we sell to the school district, and the school district pays this high fixed charge. And then Felton water rate, I mean, the Loch Lomond water rate. So I think there are some strategic issues that ought to be discussed. Thanks.
Thanks. Well, I think the Loch Lomond allotment is being dealt with staff right now. I know you're new, but I think they're.
It's there. Yeah,
It's there. They are going through the Loch Lomond feasibility study and working through all that right now at a staff level, so.
Well, there was a feasibility study in 2010. And I guess I never understood why there needs to be a new feasibility study. I read the one in 2010, I understand it. Yeah,
I think there's a lot more to it though, is like, it needs to be treated, it's raw water, the deal's for raw water, we don't have a facility to treat that water. And so there would have to be some kind of arrangement if we got that as treated water and trying to work all that out, because
That's all in the 2010.
Okay, I haven't read
It actually talks about temperature. The temperature of the water affects the taste. So that's one of the issues
Okay.
that they talk about. So they talk
You
about
have to
many
go
issues.
read that.
But it would require a substantial investment. I'm not sure, probably $10 million or something like that. It would require a substantial investment. It's not clear to me that that's the best long-term solution for us and for the whole county.
Mhm.
It's just not clear to me. It might be better just to let Santa Cruz treat that water. I mean, whether Santa Cruz treats 7/8 of the water or 8/8, it's not that much difference to them. They've got the plant, they can treat it. For us, to treat 1/8 of it, we have to build a whole new plant. So maybe that's not the most economical way to go about it. And maybe the best place for the water is Scotts Valley. They're the ones that need a supplemental water source. So the three-way possibility where we just get money and let somebody else, I mean, Santa Cruz is already using the water as far as I can see, and we're getting nothing for it. So there may be a way to extract some value without us building a treatment plant. I don't think it's clear that a feasibility study for a treatment plant is even well spent money.
Yeah. I also, there comes to become an issue when we talk about bulk water sales. I don't want to get too far into it, so I miss say something, but I know that I agree with you. In an ideal world, we would sell that for a really high price. Unfortunately, there's laws. Just like Prop 218 regulates, what we can charge our ratepayers. There's other laws. I remember that Mahood was bringing up when she was president that they also regulate the bulk sale of water. We can't do the bulk sale so high and be like, oh, this is what you're going to cost. It has to be what it costs us to deliver the water still.
Well, there's a difference between property related and not. So for us, when we're in the district, that's a property related service. If we choose to sell to Scotts Valley Water District, that's not a property related service. So there's a distinction there, and I don't think that it's exactly the same.
Well, I'd have to look farther into that. I remember that this discussion becoming before, and that's kind of how it ended with Mahood talking about the regulations over that. But I mean, we should get as much as our water is worth, absolutely, and what it costs to actually to deliver that. But I think there's regulations.
Yeah, I just started looking at the Raftels report, and so I'm trying to understand exactly their reasoning behind the rates that they chose. So
I don't think that it was addressed.
okay.
It came later. It was after that there was this idea, oh, we need to revisit the price of, and it got dropped. So a year ago, there was some discussion that might have resulted in a higher price outside the, I don't, does Big Basin buy water from us now? Are we selling to Big Basin for $12 a unit?
No,
We're not selling them any water. Good, good. But before we start selling water again outside our district, I think we need to revisit the price. Because,
Okay.
I mean, to me, it's a classic case of groupthink, where somehow a group comes up with a solution that nobody would do individually. Nobody, I don't think any individual would say, yeah, let's give Scotts Valley a discount. But somehow, when it comes time to put a price on the water that we sell to Scotts Valley, the best thing that somebody can say is, look, there's our price list. It says $12. That's what we charge, or whatever the commercial rate is. That's what we charge our school district. Why should somebody outside the district get water for the same price as somebody who's inside the district paying 50% fixed charges? That's not right. And it's
Noted.
it's groupthink that leads to public agencies making decisions like that.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, Bruce. I do appreciate that. Well, do we have anything else to say about that? The strategic plan? Okay, so it sounds like we're kind of on hold. You know, we got a new GM as far as moving this forward. But like when you're ready, I think the admin committee is eager to help you in any way. As far as what we can do for you to make your life easier. We don't want to throw more stuff on your table. Like, tell us how you're gonna do it and get so tied up in the paperwork that nothing's getting done. But we want to be here to help you and support you as the admin committee.
I
So
appreciate that, and I will use you as a resource.
And can I make another comment?
yeah, go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, I want to quickly applaud Bruce Holloway for bringing up some very important political and economic issues facing our district, and it's been like that for years. And the problem is, all these issues report to have their root cause in the regional, municipal, and county water district plan, where the emphasis is on sharing water from San Lorenzo throughout the whole district in the county. Well, those policies are failing policies and will deplete our resources over time. And we didn't have support from District 5's previous supervisor on this. He's more urban centric, living in closer to Santa Cruz. And we also are fighting the Santa Margarita Management Water District that we're sure going to have to become familiar with, Mr. Manager. There's an emphasis to extract as much water at the lowest cost regionally out of SLVWD, and the favoritism toward Scotts Valley and the city of Santa Cruz is naked. We know what's going on. Those decisions are being made behind at the water department and also the regional water district here, the Santa Margarita, the SMEGMA, we call it. Bruce is absolutely right. The water here should be sold at twice the amount of money. They are extracting our resources faster than the natural rainfall for this area, and it's getting worse and worse every year. And there's just not enough water resources to fill the aspirations of water planners as far away as Soquel, Capitola, Santa Cruz, and Scotts Valley. It's an absolute fact. Being a former student of this, environmental planner and government official in county and city government, dealing with water issues, and having been a resident here for 30 years, we have the highest water rates in the county. You're squeezing blood out of a turnip to serve the 9,000 households here, or 23,000 people. There's a limit. And I would like to reemphasize in our plan that we do look at each of the water permits and how they're eroding our water rights and how they're extracting more and more water to the urban centers. And I think it's a very vital issue that we can't ignore any longer. We've kicked this can down the road for the last 20 years. It's got to be addressed. We can't hide it. It's not fair to the local residents here. And as you know, on this Thursday, we're having a hearing on a 300 unit housing development along the Graham Hill. That's going to extract.
I appreciate that, Mark, but that is not on the agenda. So I would welcome you to join us Thursday. Otherwise, we're going to be violating Brown Act
No,
requirements.
I understand that,
We need to
but
talk
I'm
about-
talking about addressing Mr. Holloway's concerns, and I think he's just it's the tip of the iceberg. It's a lot worse than that. Thank you very much. We can't
Thank you.
ignore it.
And I'll go back. I would love to charge a lot more for our water, but again, we are a public utility. We're not a for profit, and I believe it's a California Government Code 54999. And the charges must reflect a reasonable cost of providing the service. I mean, we can look further into that, and I don't disagree that maybe we can look at a different number, because it does seem unfair that our people in our district pay a fixed fee and then plus their usage and trying to come to that. But we can't just say, oh, we're going to charge a lot of money, we're going to make all this money.
Yes,
because
we
our
can.
public
Yeah,
utility-
you're absolutely wrong. We can. It's outside our district. That refers to servicing our existing residents, period.
Okay,
You're absolutely wrong.
we can take a closer look into this, but I know that previous board members had come to that conclusion that there was still regulations on that price.
That's
So-
because
but
they
we
were
can look-
serving the urban areas, ma'am, and I'm glad she's gone.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate Mahood for everything she did. Okay, so.
And I don't.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think we have no further comments, on that. And we can move, on to the edits that we had done for the watershed steward project. Grants, there we go. I can't get back to the top to see what it was called. Oh my goodness, I'm stuck. Okay, are you presenting that, Jen? What is it? The watershed education grant there, that's what we're calling it.
Okay, so we brought this item to the administration committee in May and again in June, just to provide some further discussion on how the program was run in the past. You did request at the June meeting that we added some edits to both the notice of grant funding, which is attachment 1, and the grant application review form, also is attachment 2. We did do some research to try to find some previous grant applications that were submitted. I haven't been able to find any that were actually in the archive, so that tells me they were probably submitted as paper
Paper.
copies and were never
Mhm.
scanned in.
Mhm.
So I did look, Leah helped me, and unfortunately we weren't able to find any examples of that. But we did make some edits to both of those forms as you guys had requested, which we brought here, and to see if there's anything in addition or anything you would like us to change. So I will leave it to you guys.
I just had one, and then I'll move it on. I just didn't like the board requests a project review from the recipient to submit an outcome summary within 30 calendar days of receiving the grant. And maybe instead of receiving the grant, it's executing the grant, because like, what if they got the grant, but they're not going to execute it for another 6 months? So,
Well, yeah, we can definitely change that time frame. That was just something we pointed.
yeah, that was the only thing that I saw, but we'll take comments from the rest of the committee on everything.
Or maybe completing the grant,
Yeah,
because we really just want the outcomes after, what did you do with the money? It's kind of an after the fact kind of.
I thought I was thinking 30 days.
I was thinking 30 days was a little bit too quick, but I was just throwing in a number just so we could.
Talk about
discuss
it.
And I would hope that, when they write it up,
Mhm.
that we make it clear that they should be keeping track of what they're doing all along. So if they do that, especially these are going to be really pretty simple grants.
Mhm.
It shouldn't, I don't know that 30 days is going to be too short of a time period if they're keeping track of it and.
It all depends, I guess. I mean, I was thinking more in line of when we were, giving out $2,500 grants, where there might be a little bit more involvement, but
Mhm.
since, in all actuality, we've only got $2,500 per fiscal year at this point, so
Yeah.
we could definitely.
And depending on the grant too, depending on, if it's just paying for kids to go to camp,
Mhm.
that's an easy one to track. And,
Exactly.
you know, when camp's over, here's what we spent and
Mhm.
here's how many kids went and
Mhm.
here's the outcome of that. You know, and how do we track that? I don't know, but we would expect them to track an outcome for that.
Mhm.
Besides just a number. At any rate, so yeah, I mean, we can, I don't know, I just don't think 30 days is necessarily that done, but as long as it's after the completion of the grant.
Yeah, completion.
Completion of the grant within 30 days. Okay.
Yeah.
Shelley?
I think it's whatever for tracking purposes makes it easier upon completion.
Mhm.
That's the 30 days, and then you expect the outcomes for the quality initiatives. I mean, how did you benefit from this? So whatever makes it easier for finalization of this funding.
Mhm.
So if that's 30, then
Mhm.
that helps for 30. I'm not so hard driven.
Yeah, I'm a big
It's just-
stickler.
I'm like,
You know,
well, 30
or
days, I
if,
have to, you know,
if
it could be
we,
2 weeks, it could be 90, you know, whatever
Yeah.
makes sense for,
Mhm.
you know.
We
so-
could put a little caveat on there too, that just says this is helpful for us on the, you know, the program moving forward, for us to know what these outcomes are, just so it doesn't add a necessary, I don't know, burden on the applicants.
Well, I think inside the application you're going to say, I need this for, and then your statement.
Mhm.
And it will show that even at the camp, this is what the students learned, because I know my grandson, you know, the granddaughters go to those.
you can do
So-
a pre-post test, I mean,
Right,
you know,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, here we go. And that's exactly, what did you learn? What was your best and what did you want them to learn?
And what was your favorite 3
Right,
things? of,
exactly.
You know,
So you
can,
could summarize that. They can summarize that in a document and
It'll be
then
pretty fun
turn
to
it in
read.
and there's your outcomes. And what would you do for future? Do what was great, what was not great, right? So,
yeah, but the outcome measures should be built into
Yeah.
the grant
Okay.
and then should be reported in a decent period of time after the grant ends,
Mhm.
put it that way.
yeah. And so the qualifier decent, some people would go, well, that's 2 years from now.
No.
It's next summer camp. It's next science camp.
Always good to have time frames.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I think I had a question on the budget summary last time, and you added some language.
Mhm.
Your budget summary should include a statement of work with each line item clearly shown with anticipated costs as well as the outcomes plan to achieve the grant funds. I don't know if the outcomes should be in the budget summary, because the budget summary is basically about the dollars.
We just matched it up because on the, how our applications reviewed and awarded, there's 7 bullet points.
Oh, okay,
And
I
so
gotcha.
It's kind
Okay,
of one of those things where we were trying to keep it in line.
okay,
Mhm.
all right.
We can change that.
Well, where would it fit better? Describe your proposed project monitoring program, including outcomes plan to achieve the grant fund with the grant funds, or
I think you can go
or
wherever.
we can
you
move it somewhere else. But yeah, no, I'm glad both of those things are in there. It's really way more helpful. And that was our outcome, our score sheet, I guess. Yeah, that was our score sheet.
Mhm.
Mm. Um, there was always the question of, do we really want to go through with this? Is this something we really want to do? Is this something, and that's a question that I want to pose to Jason. This would require some staffing time. We do have a new staff person who this is in their duty statement. So we have a built-in person to do this. We wouldn't have to contract out for anything. But I think as a committee, we'd love to go forward with this. What are your thoughts?
Can I add to that question? because I do want Jason to be able to weigh in,
Mhm.
and there may be background here that you don't have. Um, and just to be clear about my own position, I support this program, and I think the admin committee supports the program, and I think we all want it to be approved and to be successful.
Right.
But I do want to be cautious because I mean, one practical reality to be aware of is that this is a politically sensitive topic. There was a longstanding program that gave grants for, it's essentially the program that the committee is proposing to resurrect. It was canceled by a newly elected board in 2019 as a cost saving measure. They argued that it was not a good use of district funds. And there was a lot of public outcry about that, but they had 3 votes, and that was the decision.
Look outcry on the other side, the state.
Yeah, the public outcry was to
state.
save it, but in any event, it's been non-existent since 2019. There's also, as additional background information, there's a parallel effort going on with the group. There's the citizens group I think you might be aware of, the Friends of San Lorenzo Valley Water, which on their own initiative is seeking to develop an updated, improved, strengthened version of this program that's substantially the same, but it tries to strengthen the link to the mission statement of the district, specifically about the district's commitment to community relations, and it also is seeking more letters of support from the community. But that's not currently available. It's not on the table. That's something that could be brought back to the admin committee in September as an improved version of the same proposal. And that can happen independent of what happens this week. So so I think that the sort of tactical question that arises amongst people that are in favor of this is because there's already money in the budget for this, there's just hasn't been formal board approval of the program itself. One possible way to go forward is to say, well, it's actually a rather small amount of money in the budget. There's general support for resurrecting the program. This would be a first step. The program could be improved as it evolves, but it's better to get it launched right away and get some data and get some benefit, even while we're looking at what can be done to make it even more compelling. Some board members will not see it that way. Some board members will say, I don't think it's compelling. I'm not going to vote for it. And whether they'll feel differently if they see a stronger proposal in the future, I would guess some of them would feel differently, some of them wouldn't. One thing that I can anticipate them doing is looking to you and asking if there's any staff perspective on this that you want to share. You might decide not to because it's just a sensitive topic and you're new, or you might decide that you already have feelings about it that you want to share.
I have an issue about not sharing my feelings, so we'll see how that goes. But as just looking at this, and I can only relate it to what we did where I come from, but we had similar programs down there, educational grant things, and anything that we can do to help the community better understand the water system in the valley is a good thing to me. This is ratepayer money, and we're using this money to educate so that people can become better stewards of the water as a whole. So that's my stance on that.
Great.
I think that's very encouraging. I had a detailed question just because I think there was some uncertainty about the actual amount of money in the budget. It keeps changing every time we talk about it. And so I wanted to try and get it clear.
hasn't
How much
changed.
money is in this year's
$2,500 per fiscal year.
So the 2-year
5,000
budget, 5,000
but
total.
2,500 per fiscal year.
Yeah.
And the question was raised, I think, in your write-up about whether that should be dispensed to one recipient or whether there should be multiple recipients that get multiple.
That's what I'd kind of put in the outline, yeah, just to throw some ideas out there on how you guys want to do that moving forward.
I think they should be $500 to $1,000 grants depending. And so maybe we get 5, maybe we get 2.5, you know, so.
Just a place to start.
And to address the committee member Dolson's comments about contrary viewpoint from board members, I welcome that. I really do, because if everyone just agreed and got along, we wouldn't really actually improve anything. So I like the fact that there's gonna be a contrary view that helps us sharpen the pencils, that helps us become better at what we do.
I agree with that too. I would just add that I have an interest in seeing this program succeed. I have an interest in seeing the board value the admin committee's input.
Yes.
So I do think there's a risk that in its present form, the admin committee recommendation will not garner sufficient board support. And I think there's a possibility that in an improved form, it would garner sufficient board support. So that's just more of a tactical question. Yeah, I mean, and yeah, I can't resist saying that not all board debate is constructive debate. I think there'll be some unconstructive debate on that. Okay.
I think it's a natural way of man, but yeah, I agree. There's gonna be times where people that agree to disagree, and that's then we go forward.
And, you know, we had talked about in our previous discussions here in the committee that this isn't the be all end all, the best we're going to have. This is a seed. This is a spark. This is just the beginning. We just want to get something going. And hopefully we'll get some community support on that. I think that's definitely going to happen. Because there's a good community support for resurrecting this program. If we build in good outcome measures and we can share that with the public and with the board, you know, maybe we can ensure that at least some people see the value in it. But delay, it seems like we should you know, clean up these documents as best we can, maybe work on a presentation to the board, and get a thumbs up or down. I mean, we're gonna get, we have the money, we have the staff, we have some documents that we can use and modify to at least start this little program up again. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
Jen's done an amazing job on this, and
Yes.
nothing breeds support like success. So if we can get it going and see successful outcomes, that'll
And make sure that that's built in and everybody understands we need to have those outcome measurements and we get them in a timely manner, and then we present that as here's the results of what we did. And it may just be some real feel good stuff with the kids, but you're gonna change some hearts and minds, and you're gonna get some kids jazzed about the environmental impact and their environmental impact on the system, the water system.
So we had similar initiatives down in the desert, and where water's a little scarce, by the way.
Yeah.
And you know, children coming home and telling their mom, you can't, no, don't run the water while you're doing that, mom, turn it off while you're washing the dish, scrubbing the dishes, or whatever, you know, things like that. Children are informing the parents. That's where you see the success.
Yeah.
I don't think that this is unique to any water district. Most water districts have some type of educational funding grant, so I don't think it's way out of left field. We have it in our strategic plan. You know, it was really successful for a long time here. I mean, it's in the budget, so if
We
we go
got the
to,
money.
I know, we go to the board and they say, oh, you can't do that. I don't, what do you do with that money? And it's already budgeted. So I don't think there's this huge risk. I think that the planting of this seed, I think that that's important to be, if we want to go for any more money, or if we want to gather, outside support to kind of help us with this. I hear what you're saying, and you want to make it the best possible thing so it doesn't fail, but we could do all of that and it still fails.
Right.
I'm just saying, and I feel like we can definitely start with this and make it better. I did, I hear a lot of your comments. The one thing that I really liked out of all the comments that kind of the Friends of really wants to see this succeed, and I hear that. And one of the biggest comments that I heard was about the mission statement, which I really like that they had to say is kind of changing that to maintaining the outstanding community relations, providing funding and educational other project that engage local community members, designed to enhance the understanding of the district's mission and the importance of protecting and improving the San Lorenzo River watershed. So me just kind of like bringing that back to the district as like kind of an edit, like how does this help the district? And so I think that was the most constructive comment that I got out of that. And that kind of helps also bring on other board members, like this is benefiting the water district. So yeah, I mean, I think it would, go ahead.
No, I appreciate you calling that out. That was my revised version of it, and I'd be happy to see that used at this time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that the watershed mission, but I liked what you wrote. It was good.
Okay.
So,
and I think everyone's making valid points that I respect and would not oppose. So if there's a consensus that people want to move forward with it in its present form, and it's particularly important to me that you're also on board with that, I certainly support that.
yeah. Do we have, well, there, I think this was just a discussion topic, correct? So there's nothing, but I think it's, if there's any, did anyone else see any edits in there that they felt needed to happen?
I can go over it again one more time to see if there's anything else, but I
The
mean,
only other edit I would add at this point is just that, Chris Clear, we have him on there as being the one that run the program. The only other thing to factor in is, would it make more sense for this to go to the environmental committee, which Chris runs, to have them review the applications, or do we prefer that they stay within the admin committee?
or we do a collaboration with them.
We could do an ad hoc.
I
Just
think
something
they,
to think about.
I think they need to be involved.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's gonna be their baby.
Mhm.
It's our baby
2500
too. We're gonna share custody.
Make sure,
Hey, you gotta
make sure you have
start.
vegetation.
Start small, work your way up.
Oh. I didn't want to be with the admin committee. Okay, do we have any comments from the public?
I feel like Mr. Dolson has somewhat mischaracterized people's opinions and feelings. I remember the old program, and I estimated that the district spent as much on staff time to distribute the money as actually the money was being distributed. So it's not a very efficient means of distributing money. At the last board meeting, there was a lot of talk about how the district is a business. Director Largay said the district is a business. There was a consultant who wants to loan $19 million to the district. He was pointing out that it's a business. And this seems not very businesslike to me. I wish that for $2,500, I wish that this was not even being discussed. I feel like the issues that were on the agenda earlier, much more important to the district than this. What I would support, what I would consider is a plan that a rebate to the school district very much like the LIRA program, the low income rate assistance program is essentially a reduction in your fixed charge. If you qualify for that program, your fixed charge, a lot of it goes away. So I would support that kind of a program where we gave the school district a discount or a rebate on their fixed charge that they could use for anything they want. In Scotts Valley School District, I think last year, there was a student who committed suicide. So it might be that if you talk to the school board, they might say, well, our next $20,000, we would raise our counselor from 50% to 0.75% or something. I have no idea what the school district would do if the district gave them a rebate on their water bill. But I would rather see that than these watershed education grants. Also, when the grants were originally established, the district had $10 million in investments and only was spending $3 or $4 million. It's literally, the district had 3 times more money in the bank than their annual expenses around 2010 or so. So the $10 million in investments was generating hundreds of thousands of dollars of interest that the district wasn't even, didn't even really need at the time. So it kind of made sense back then. There was this tremendous interest being generated from the investments, and there was money available. At this point, the district is looking at borrowing $15 million, and I don't think there's room for any frills. So I don't agree with this, but I would agree with something that gave the school district the ability to choose where they want to spend the money. Watershed education might not be their top priority. Thanks.
Yeah, well, I see this as, we pay people to post stuff on Facebook and PR and outreach. And so I feel like that kind of falls into this. I do think it is a priority of the schools. They really want to send kids to summer camp. I've heard this from the SLV school district. They try to get it cost them like $300 or $400 a kid, something to send. And so they tried to take at least $100 off a kid to make this affordable. We are all Title I schools. So this is a privilege for a lot of the kids to be able to attend. And I know that it's $2,500, but that's $500,000 that a school doesn't have to fundraise, and that's a lot of money. I mean, we do entire readathons, and maybe we get that, and that's a lot of work. So I do think that this is with it. I think the schools would be very excited. So okay, as far as the edits though.
Yeah, well, I just wanted
Go
to
ahead.
piggyback on
Go
that,
ahead.
just from a high level. This is why I keep saying we need a strategic plan. And if it was in the strategic plan that we were, doing watershed stewardship, or, in the public affairs part, or strategic partners part, we were talking about these education grants, and we could just point to the strategic plan saying this is a priority of the district, and this is going to help meet that priority item.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that it was a priority item before. There's a number of people that want it. I understand that there are multiple things that need to happen with the district. And there's some things that take higher priority than others. This is, I think it's still something that's important, but and it's only $5,000, $2,500 a year. So
It should be more.
Yeah,
we tried to get more, but
Education is important.
yeah.
I mean, it used to be 17.5 would be over 20,000 with
Right.
inflation right
But
now.
let's start small.
Yeah, but
Maybe each
yeah.
individual department could do something on an educational, because if that's your mission, vision statement is to have community involvement and education of said community, you want to bring them in. This is how you're going to do it, starting from my grandchildren who really start to talk the talk and walk the walk, like the desert, where they come home and say, we're talking about conserving our resources, but then also getting the information out to your community, because it's about community right now. You know, and it's important that as an organization, you write in and make sure you are having outreach to your community. In the nursing field, we have to have community outreach programs. That went for the OR, the ICU, hospital nursing. So why are you any different? Why is this any different?
How you're supposed to treat patients.
That's right.
Yeah.
What, you think? I mean, why is education the first thing that goes in budget cuts? It makes me so disappointed, the fact that that's one of the things to train your staff, to train your public, to educate them, because you can't move forward unless you have an educated community. Therefore, I think it's a very important topic. And I think we should go even higher in the amount.
I appreciate your passion.
She had it. She started it.
And I will, yeah, but we start here. And like I said, success breeds support. So
Right, yeah.
But start, see.
Yeah. I think it's ready to leave the admin, so.
I think so. I think we've
I think
discussed
we
it.
talked about it
Months,
enough. It was
we're all
supposed to be
in
a short
agreement.
discussion,
I'm
just
like-
looking at edits, so. All right, unless there's anything final about
So let's
edits
go for it.
and no final comment, I think we lost our online person. So we had the one in person. So, all right, I think we can conclude that, and then we're gonna quickly move to future agenda items. I think, Mark, you had one, and I thought it was a good one. So I like it.
Well, if I interpret this a little more broadly, because it says comments, I'm going to try and quickly make a few comments. One is kind of nitpicky, but I'm just making it to see what people's reaction is. The question I have is, how do our agendas get prepared for our committee meetings? And there are two important aspects to that for me. One is that if it's important enough to put on the agenda, I realize it takes staff time to go further on this, but I feel like the committee really needs a staff memo to tell them exactly what they're being asked to accomplish and to provide them with the adequate tools to accomplish it. But even before you do that, I think my understanding is that the board meeting agendas are prepared jointly by the general manager and the board president. At least according to the board policy manual, that's the way that's supposed to happen, is you guys can meet and come to some kind of agreement on what the agenda should be for the board meeting.
yeah, that's the one duty or gift of being a board president is you get to determine what's on the agenda.
Okay. What's unclear in the board policy manual is whether that's supposed to be mirrored at the committee level, and whether the committee chair should meet with the general manager to determine the agenda. It's mentioned in a vague kind of way. It doesn't make it clear what should happen.
You guys, we do things differently up here than I did down there, but it was normally just a consensus of what was on the next agenda. So if you want to make it so that the board representative, the chair of the committee, we can do that.
Well, I'm just interested in any process that sort of maximizes the effectiveness of the committee. So if you guys want to take that initiative and interpret it that way, I have no objection. Or if you have a different idea, I'm open to that. I was just raising that as a point of concern. Should I move on, or?
Are you looking for me to say something? about
Well,
that? If you want me to control everything, I mean, that's fine. I'm also, Punko always had this as being a community, committee. And so I don't want to feel like I stifle any of your voices by naysaying something. And if there's something that you really want, I have no problem as chair you asking staff, unless it's like it starts getting completely out of hand and you're asking for a million things. Like you asked for the Q&A, and I'm completely fine with you asking Jen if you wanted to meet with Jason. I don't think that's above and beyond, but either way, I just want this to be your guys' committee, you know?
It was always consensus down there, so.
Yeah, I mean, we wouldn't be talking about strategic plan if I hadn't been harping about it for the last few months.
Well, that's why I added that committee comments section was for this particular.
Yeah,
purpose, so you guys could tell us what you want us to bring to you.
So that's why I
instead
kind
of
of feel
the
this
other way.
section
Yeah.
is for, is for you. And I know sometimes we leave and then you think of something, and that's okay. You can email it to me, or like I can pass it on, or you can email Jen if there's something.
No, I really appreciate your inclusive approach. I would
Yes.
just be fine with it going through you and you coming to the final decision,
Okay,
but that's just for.
we can maintain
Experience.
that. Yeah.
um,
Okay. And you did have something that you wanted for a future agenda. I liked
Yeah.
it.
So, oh, sorry, one more thing. Also, according to the board policy manual, one of the opportunities that you have as chair of the committee is to exert control over the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm particularly sensitive to, we've had some extremely lengthy public comments, which
Mhm.
is not the norm for our.
Usually no one
meetings.
ever shows up.
I was gonna ask about time.
Yeah.
Usually they've been limited to 3 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Something that I'm interested in putting on a future agenda, but not next month, and it would also depend a little bit on your perspective, is looking at the responsible use of AI in the front office.
Yeah.
Do you have a perspective on it at the moment?
It's something that we were just in the infancy stage down there, you know, each manager was looking at different AI. Tools, what was available, so I have no problem looking into it and then coming up with an idea. You know, it's a slippery slope. I always said, I don't know which direction we're going, we're either going towards the Star Trek version where everything looks great, or Sarah Connor's gonna get killed. I don't know which direction we're going. But yeah, I have no problem looking into it.
Okay, I appreciate that. I mean, I'm somewhere in the middle, yeah.
That'd be
And
Yeah.
lastly, just for consistency, I'm gonna mention, I'm still not satisfied that we are not putting more pressure on the staff to provide tracking documents. I mean, we talked about it a little earlier in the context of the updatable document. But in other words, what I'm saying is that both in meetings, you know, when things come up and people say, oh, yes, we'll look at that in the future, or when things do look at things and then in either case, is it possible to tell afterward when it's going to be completed or when it's going to be resurfaced? Because there are no general tracking documents made available. And that applied to, you know, project status, but also I think applies to just ongoing decision making. So still banging that drum. Okay, I'm done.
We've discussed that before, and what I had told him is it's considered a parking lot. Like
Right.
what we do for our staff meetings is I create a parking lot where things go that we don't forget. He was asking to start including those on future agendas, which we had all posed the risk of having everybody comment on every single item that's on the agenda.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how we can come up with a
Happy
workaround,
medium,
but
right.
a happy medium,
Okay,
just to give you some context.
I'll think about it.
Do we have anything else anyone wants to be bringing to admin?
I reserve the right to think of something and bring it to you.
It's absolutely acceptable. I'm out of
I
the
don't know if I saw
country
that in the board policy.
from the 23rd to the 5th. So, I'm just kidding. Tell you that.
Yeah.
Bad joke, but I had to say it.
Okay, yeah, you definitely send that to me. And as far as anything coming, like whatever staff really feels like you need us to look at or need help with, like if we're here and want to support you, we don't want to be like, hey, throw all this stuff at you. So however we can support you best. I would like to look at that staffing report from 2016, but
I already have an email in for you.
okay, awesome. Awesome. Oh, I guess at some point we need to bring the org chart back too, because the two org charts weren't matching up
Right.
and
Mhm.
we did make that motion to change the title to general manager and that kind of fizzled out too. So I don't know
Yeah, I
where
was
that went.
told to wait until we have a
Okay.
GM, which we
Okay,
have
there we
now,
go.
so we can do
So
that.
the org chart stuff maybe again. So that's about it. That's all I have. And if are you done? You're fidgeting. Is there something else?
Your time's up.
Yeah,
Everybody's.
we're done.
time's
We're
up.
going to lunch, Mark.
I'm fine.
You're good. No, I'm serious. Do you need anything? Go ahead. I'm just teasing you. Okay. All right. 11:54, meeting adjourned.
All right.
Okay.
I was getting fanny fatigue here. It's like, oh my.